We have arrived at the main event. Today's contest takes place around a truly beautiful venue for motor racing. It is nearly time for the third chapter of Verstappen versus Norris in the last 7 days. Verstappen won in Spain and Saturday's sprint, but after their battle of the late lunges yesterday, this will be a start to savour. It is round 11 of the Formula One World Championship in 2024. Welcome to the Austrian Grand Prix. It is 4.3 kilometres, 2.6 miles. It's a rapid lap, as it always has been around this circuit. 10 turns is the corner count. The elevation 63 metres all the way up to turn number 3. And even on the reconnaissance laps, we saw drivers testing how much pressure they could put on the brakes there. C5, C4 and C3 are the compounds of tyres available as we expect a two-stop race in what has been a sweltering weekend. A little bit of cloud cover at the moment, but it is a fantastic venue to go racing. And here's the grid. One car in the pit lane is Zhou Guanyu. Logan Sargent will be the last car on the actual grid. He's in 19th place. Then it's Valtteri Bottas, a former pole sitter around here and winner around here. Lance Stroll goes from 17th. And then it is Alex Albon, 16th for Williams, saying that was the best that they could do. Fernando Alonso only has one Q3 appearance now in the last 6 races. Yuki Tsunoda gets his best start here since 2021. He's next to his old teammate Pierre Gasly, who's in 13th place. And it's Kevin Magnussen, who's looked strong all weekend long, but he is the second house on the grid. Daniel Ricciardo missed out on Q3 by 15 thousandths of a second. Esteban Ocon has back-to-back Q3 appearances. Nico Hülkenberg in 9th. Equals his best starting position of the season. Then it's Perez in 8th next to Oscar Piastri in 7th as his lap time was deleted and he was dropped down from 3rd to 7th. Charles Leclerc is in 6th place next to Lewis Hamilton, who finds himself in 5th on the grid. Then it's Carlos Sainz, the lead Ferrari, on the grid for the first time in 7 races. This is George Russell's best ever starting position around here, and we know what he's done at the start of the last 2 Grand Prix. On the front row, once again, Lando Norris for the second time at this venue, and Max Verstappen took his 40th career pole position. Yesterday really was a very, very special contest in the early laps. The challenge for McLaren today and Lando Norris to extend it deep into the Grand Prix. In the commentary box, I'm Alex Jakes, joined by Jolyon Palmer, but first we check in with David Coulthard, the last man to win around this circuit for McLaren back in 2001.
Incredible, isn't it, actually, to imagine that McLaren have had such a drought around the majority of racetracks, but the good news is they have been on a steady rebuilding program. The performance of that car, since what was a pretty bad start at the beginning of last year, remember, I think they were pretty much at the back in Bahrain, but they've systematically brought upgrades, understood how to exploit the regulations, and they're right in the mix. And Lando Norris, as we saw in the sprint, got feisty, got busy and got down the inside of Max, but he then thought the job was done. And of course, Max just doesn't lie down and he came back at him. So can he do something different today?
It was 23 laps yesterday, and it's 71 laps today. Jolyon Palmer, what's going to be the key to winning this Grand Prix?
Well, it looks like it's going to be the latest instalment of Norris v Verstappen. Those two have been the benchmark in Formula One for the last few races, if you take out Monaco, which was quite the outlier. So far, it's been very close between the two, but Verstappen has had the advantage off the line. Norris needs to try and get in amongst it, I think, on the first lap. We saw Max put in a blinding qualifying performance yesterday. Is that indicative of Red Bull creeping away in terms of the pace? Or have McLaren focused a little bit more on their race car, which is where they've had a good strength in recent races as well? The start's going to be crucial. In Barcelona, Russell got in amongst them. If Russell splits the front two, it's going to be a huge advantage for whoever's ahead.
It is nearly time to send their cars on their way. The green light illuminates at the top of the gantry, and a front row of Max Verstappen and Lando Norris leads the field away once again. They have been the dominant pair in the last couple of months for Formula One. Lando Norris taking his maiden victory in Miami. Formula One has been ultra competitive since then. Strategic-wise today, it's all going to be about the medium tyre for everyone leaving the grid.
You don't get many like that, do you?
Very unusual to see that. Just Zhou Guanyu is going to start this race on the hard tyre.
Yeah, literally everyone has gone for the same. Normally there's some chance of further back that fancies doing something different. I thought maybe someone like Perez might go for something different as well, because the threats behind him aren't great, and he's been missing a little bit to get in amongst it, but they've all seen what's best on paper and followed it.
Yeah, they have indeed, and I think it's a case of, well, talking with Pirelli, the hard tyre just slides, like we saw with George Russell in Barcelona, and they just don't want to be sliding early in the race with a lot of fuel on board, so that's driven them all down the medium route. Soft, not an option, won't go the distance, and under normal conditions, it will be medium, hard, medium, or medium, medium, hard, whatever variation they like. It's going to be busy in the pits.
It is indeed. We are expecting a two-stop race. How you deploy both compounds is crucial. You must run both compounds. It can be any two of the three, but you've got to run two compounds in the Grand Prix according to the rule book. It's a short lap here, it's an intense lap here, and it's those two once again that all eyes are on. Once more, Lando Norris glued to the back of Max Verstappen as he brings his papaya McLaren to the line, just one car ahead of him. Remember, Max Verstappen's superb start in Spain gave him the chance to get alongside Lando Norris, and then it meant that he was able to get track position over him, even though George Russell swept around into the lead of the race.
Verstappen's starts have been very good for quite a while now. Yesterday, Norris was looking in his mirrors on the first lap. He had his teammate alongside him. Russell is not going to be accommodating either, as we see him park up in third position. He fancies getting in on the action on the first lap as well.
Yeah, he did that very effectively in Barcelona. Swept round the outside. Not quite the same options on this first corner, but we know the opening lap, the battle can continue all the way through to 4.
You can see the last car on the grid will be Logan Sargent of America. He will be the 19th car there. In the pit lane, Zhou Guanyu. His race will begin when the green light illuminates at the end of the pit lane. It is a capacity crowd here who have been providing a brilliant atmosphere, and they're ready for the start of this one. The green flag at the back tells us we go racing in 5 lights time. And the Austrian Grand Prix is underway. Perfect reaction time for Max Verstappen. He's got what he needed off the line. George Russell will put pressure on Lando Norris, but the top three were as they were. That was brave around the outside for Lewis Hamilton, but did he overtake off the road when he was battling Carlos Sainz? They'll work it out later. Up for second place we go, with George Russell momentarily ahead, but Lando Norris with the inside line. Can Hamilton get the job done against Carlos Sainz? He can, but there'll be a question of whether he did so off the road. Max Verstappen checking out front as Oscar Piastri goes wheel to wheel with Sergio Perez. It's Verstappen, then Norris, Russell, Hamilton up a place, Sainz down one, and Piastri climbed up to 6th position.
Perfect start once again for Verstappen. Piastri is ushered wide to the gravel. He's going to lose a place to Leclerc as well, and Perez has made 2 places in that, right down in 6th place.
So Perez now into 6th position. Leclerc gets through as Piastri is in trouble, but they're still going side by side. The McLaren and the Ferrari further up the picture were wheel to wheel there doing battle, and we found ourselves with Piastri fighting back and taking that position. Damage for Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, it looked like there was side-by-side action between him and Piastri going through 6 and 7, so we're about to find out exactly what is it. It looks like it might be front wing. Just looking at that long shot there, I can only see white on the left of wing.
Here's a chance for a move further back in the pack. That's Yuki Tsunoda getting past Fernando Alonso into turn number 1, and this is P1. Max Verstappen out front, DRS is now enabled, nose change for Charles Leclerc, who had a tough sprint qualifying day, had a tough sprint race as a result, and drops to the back of the field. Logan Sargent in the pits as well on the opening lap, at the end of the opening lap, as Charles Leclerc continues on, and Lewis Hamilton, having got a great start and moving up to 4th, is now putting the pressure on George Russell for 3rd.
Norris out of DRS range, so Verstappen did such a good start and great first lap. He managed to clear away more than 1 second to Norris, who's got more than 1 second to Russell, and here we go on board with Hamilton, who's fighting his teammate, and this is an important one for Mercedes, with Piastri further back, Perez further back as well. This is a fight for a podium the whole day, and even better if Verstappen and Norris get scrapping, and it's a bit of brinkmanship that's going to be needed here, I think, for Hamilton to clear his teammate.
Yeah, George clearly managing his tyres, thinking, right, how far can I take this first stint? Lewis going, I'm coming. I've got 3 DRS zones, try and stop me.
They're racing it out.
Well, we've seen the Silver Arrows collide at the turn that they're heading to at the moment. Lewis Hamilton trying to make the pass. He's been so racy at the start of this one. Past Carlos Sainz on the first lap. On the third lap, he's going to be past his teammate. And Lewis Hamilton is up to third position. His best start to a Grand Prix so far this year in terms of places gained. He's on the attack, but George Russell wants the place back. Will they play fairly? Wasn't even a contest. Russell retakes P3.
Actually, if they do it smartly, they can trade DRS and help their overall lap time for both of them around this track.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a tough one to make it work, but it's what happened there with Russell. That was smart work from George. Allowed Lewis the inside. Didn't try and defend that one because the DRS detection line comes up just before turn 3. So Hamilton had the inside. Russell gave him the inside, but just focused on his exit and came back as soon as he had the DRS. There was nothing that Lewis could do to hold him back. They're still within a couple of seconds of Lando Norris, who is tumbling away from Verstappen. Verstappen's 7 tenths quicker than Norris on that lap.
Yeah, has broken out of DRS range. It's 1.8 seconds, the gap between the two of them. Hamilton and Sainz, it was a helicopter shot of the cars through turn number 1, so we'll have to see different angles of it again, but turn 1 incident involving Hamilton and Sainz has been noted for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. Hamilton being looked at whether he overtook off the road.
Normally they'll let it go on the first opening lap, first corner, providing you haven't clearly swept around the outside from behind and gained an advantage. So if they go side by side and run wide and you manage to carry that momentum, but I didn't actually see it. Did you see it to judge whether he'd really stolen advantage or not?
We'll need to get another angle, I think. Sainz actually had a great start from fourth place on the grid. Norris didn't get away again in the second phase of the start, then came under pressure from Russell and Sainz had to back out of it because he was so close to the two ahead, and then Hamilton came round, but I didn't see on first glance how far ahead he was into the corner and if he'll get away with that or not. We'll wait for a replay.
It is now under investigation, having been noted, and they will be running through the replays in race control as well. 5 laps gone of the Austrian Grand Prix in 2024, and the gap is 2.3 seconds between Verstappen and Norris as Russell tries to repel the attentions of Hamilton, who had a great run up to turn number 3. Russell kept calm and responded.
4 more tenths to Verstappen on the last lap. It's a short lap. They're already lapping less than 1 minute 10 seconds, or Max is. He's the only driver in the 1 minute 9s. But to have this level of performance advantage on 7 corners is just amazing. The performance he did in qualifying, and he's backing it up in the first part of this race. It's a long race, 66 laps to go. Maybe his tyres will fall away and he's taking too much out right now, but this is quite the start.
His getaway again, even more assured than yesterday. That meant that Lando had to look to defend, and that's just, happy days for Max. He would have glanced in his mirrors, realised he could sweep his normal racing line. Let's just take a look at Hamilton, and yeah, I think that's one of those that they'll just let go because he had the car alongside as he went through the apex.
I think he's overtaken off the track. I think he's behind Sainz coming into the corner. He's let's see, on board with Leclerc now. That's his teammate ahead, Hamilton on the side. Leclerc gets the whack with Piastri then, and we lose the distance to see Hamilton's move. I think Lewis takes the place off the track. He's not on the circuit. He makes the position. He'll say it's the first corner, he wasn't given space, but I think that's an unfair move, and we can see it here.
No. This is happening live on track at the moment, and Sainz has been given the place. So Mercedes are not even going to let that go any further. They're going to swap the positions round, and they take the sensible course of action. It's on board with Oscar Piastri, who was battling Perez at the start of the race.
And Piastri's lucky to not have damage from that hit with Leclerc as well.
He pushed me up. I was side by side at the apex.
Copy, that's how I saw it.
So he's talking about the Perez one, which is this one. Let's see on board with Oscar, who's coming around the outside of Sergio Perez. And he's ushered wide.
Yeah, he's not given any room.
And Leclerc now comes through, but you can see he's got no front end at all. He's done well to make it through the hairpins with that level of speed. As soon as he gets to the fast corners, nothing there, and he dives into the pits. That was the first corner then that did for Charles Leclerc.
No further action, and that is because matters were taken into their own hands. No need to take that any further for race control, and Hamilton looking to do it all over again. So it's been a great start to the Grand Prix. Surely Lewis Hamilton's most attacking start to any Grand Prix so far this year. Got past Sainz, got past Russell, Russell made his way back through by the time he got to turn number 4. Now Hamilton trying to do it all over again on lap number 7.
He actually is still benefiting from that move at the start because Sainz has not got the DRS from Russell that he otherwise might have had, so now he's vulnerable, and here comes Hamilton on the outside.
Sainz hugged that inside line, desperate to hang on to it, and he keeps track position for the moment.
Yeah, both of them will be losing lap time. You see the battle, Piastri and Perez. And, well, we know Piastri is not happy, looking to go around the outside.
Can he do it? Yes, he takes the place, and Piastri forced to go the long way round, and he gets the position back. It was contentious at the same corner that it was on lap number 1, but Piastri would not be denied and moves up to 6th position. And, well, that was a strong way to take it.
Amazing move from Piastri. The confidence that he's got in the high speed there is obviously pretty special. Around the outside of Perez, and he did the same move on Norris, but Norris was a little bit more bulked. I have to say it's a bit humbling for Perez as well. His teammate is waltzing away out front now, more than 3 seconds clear of Norris, and to be overtaken in that manner is you sort of wince looking back as a driver, to be passed cleanly around the outside in a high-speed corner like that.
Yeah, that's he's obviously eyed him up, understood where his car had performance or lacked it, and then you've got to commit to that. You can't just go, let's tickle it and see. He's gone for it and made it stick, and that's definitely the pass of the Grand Prix as we get on to the 9th lap.
I have a few more. Hamilton is in close proximity. Piastri very much on the front foot, but Perez has not been dropped there and stays within 0.3 of a second, half a second. I'd like to see that on board with Sergio, to hear how much throttle he was using, whether they were worried about a potential investigation for forcing another driver off the track. That's now not a problem, and stewards have scrapped that one as well.
It didn't stop him defending on the corner before that, though, did it? So Perez is struggling in the high-speed corners particularly. Comparing Checo and Max, we know the strength of the Red Bull is the second half of this lap, the fast stuff. He's matching the McLaren. He was even quicker than the McLaren in the low speed as well yesterday. But he's gapping Norris in the fast corners. He's got the car exactly where he wants it. Perez has not. Perez has got such a gulf to his teammate in the high speed that he's not able to take advantage of that theoretical Red Bull pace. And he's just been exposed there by Piastri.
Yeah, lap time-wise, running a lot slower.
Okay, looks we're under investigation for turn 1, so we need to let Sainz past. He's 0.9 behind.
So there was the instruction on the radio from Pete Bonington, the race engineer for Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton immediately responding, and he's still behind the Ferrari. It has been very close all weekend between Ferrari and Mercedes, with pace on the stopwatch, and Sainz in between the two silver arrows at the moment. Charles Leclerc running 19th after damaging his front wing on the opening lap of the race.
Yeah, Sainz 2.5 seconds behind Russell, and Hamilton staying within that DRS distance. So it doesn't look as if he's about to chuck it down his inside anywhere. So maybe the Mercedes just not performing quite as well in the turbulent air. But meanwhile, if we look there in vision, the Haas cars are having a good day. Hülkenberg in 8th, Magnussen 10th. They'll be hoping very much that someone would throw a checker flag right now.
I would be delighted with that. It would be a huge result for the team that find themselves in the lower reaches of the Constructors' Championship. They've fallen behind Renault in the last race. They have 7 points, and Alpine find themselves with 8 on the board, so close down there at the lower reaches. But the difference between 7th and 8th in the Constructors' Championship can be millions by the end of the year.
Norris was just starting to at least halt the charge of Verstappen. He'd taken 0.2 back on Max on the last lap, but he has made a mistake in the middle sector on this lap, and the gap goes back out to 4.2 seconds. He's lost a clean second to Max in the middle sector somewhere, around the hairpin section. I wonder if he's just drifted off at turn 3 or something. And just as it looked like he was starting to stem the flow, Max again opening up that advantage.
Telltale sign of a car heading to the pits. That's slightly cumbersome. Early turn into turn 9, you have to stay within the white line. Well, 2 cars heading to the pits, Haas and the V car.
Very early.
Incredibly early. Against forecasts, before this, our data team didn't think we'd be seeing anyone in the pits before lap 16. But of course, what this does, if you are struggling, is forces everyone around you in the battle for points to respond. And Magnussen and Ricciardo, who came in together, leave the pit lane in the same order. And Now, what will the others do? Do you stick to your guns? Do you stick to your plan? Or do you try and react on the next lap? Because getting that fresher rubber around here will be a sizable advantage. It's a 4.6-second gap out front. Will those at the lower reaches of the points feel the need to respond? Meanwhile, for Carlos Sainz, they're sticking to the plan. Plan A.
That will be interesting intel for any of the other teams, because both those cars, the Haas and the V-Carb, went for the hard tyre, which the Pirelli intel was saying, well, it just slides a bit too much, and it's not like they've burned off a lot of fuel by this stage of the race.
The deck's quite high, I think, at the moment. That's why now the other Haas comes in, Nico Hülkenberg, from 8th position. The deck's quite high. Drivers at the front are making mistakes. Norris, again, even on the last lap, a cleaner lap. He's a second away from his best lap in the first 12 here. So the deck is up. I wonder if we're even heading towards a 3-stopper, potentially. It's a circuit you could overtake on.
Yeah, very, very early to be making these changes. The drivers that have come in, switching to the hard compound tyre. Ricardo switched to that hard compound. Let's see between the two Hasses. We were talking about the undercut, that's getting the fresher rubber. You can see that Hülkenberg is ahead. The two Hasses have a chance of points here today, but can they behave themselves? Will they go side by side into turn number 3? Magnussen backs out of it. Deep into the corner goes Hülkenberg, and they're holding each other up at the moment. Hülkenberg stays ahead, having gone off the track. Magnussen will try and respond now. This could be for points later on, and it would be nervy moments. Hülkenberg just backs out and knows that it was his teammate coming through. Magnussen takes the place.
Yeah, Hülkenberg's stop was over 3 seconds, so that definitely marginalised a little bit, and his reaction to his teammate pitting. Now, how much time did that little battle cost them? Because their outlaps, of course, that impacts them, those around them.
Yeah, they didn't really need to be fighting each other when they're both up in the points at the moment. Hülkenberg, I think, had to give that place back, even if Magnussen didn't take it, from the way he kept it by driving off the road here at turn 3. Hard tyres not up to temperature for him in the fight, and they're still fighting it out with the Alpines further back. They're not miles away from Sergio Perez and trying to undercut the Red Bull with the way that the start of this race is unfolding as well. There were 2 positions between Magnussen and Hülkenberg, and that shows you the power an undercut can have.
Riding on board with the Mercedes, Russell in 3rd, Sainz in 4th, and Hamilton in 5th. You're looking at the driver trying to return to the podium today. George Russell, who was there in Canada, disappointed it wasn't the win that he coveted. That's his only podium finish of the entire season so far. Carlos Sainz only 1.6 seconds away. That's definitely in undercut territory. And then Piastri has got to not quite to the back of Hamilton, but he's 2.2 seconds away. It's fairly evenly spread out between 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. It's a 5.1 second advantage now for our race leader, Max Verstappen, chasing his 6th Grand Prix victory around this circuit today. Charles Leclerc has now cleared Alex Albon. The 2 Williams are the last cars on the road.
The top 2 starting to stretch their legs. Well, Verstappen's been accelerating off into the distance since the actual launch. But Norris now starting to stabilise himself a little bit. So we see Hülkenberg come back past Magnussen. So that's a sensible move as well for Haas, getting the driver on the fresher tyres ahead in their battle. They're hoping to get both cars into the points. They're recovering now as well, fighting it out with Alex Albon, who's come in for his stop. Russell v Sainz v Hamilton, maybe Piastri and Perez is the fight for the podium, I think. Norris seems to be just stretching away from Russell. Verstappen's in a league of his own. It's the battle for 3rd that's still very close.
Alex Albon getting back past Charles Leclerc, and Leclerc trying to come back. These 2 raced each other in Formula 2 plenty of times around here, and they've been in different levels of competitiveness at different times in Formula 1, so you don't often see Albon go up against Charles Leclerc. But Charles Leclerc's race coming undone with damage on the opening lap. He's on that hard tyre, and he continues on in 19th.
Got to manage the tyres, Kev. Got to manage the tyres.
Just me or Nico too?
Both cars need to save tyres. A long way to go.
That.
Oh, that sounds like a popular suggestion from his race engineer.
So I think Mark Slade there, his race engineer, has probably told him to give the place back to Hülkenberg, and he's trying to justify that by managing the tyres. They're still racing together here. Magnussen well within the DRS range. They have got to be careful, because as much as you want to overtake everyone you possibly can, particularly your teammate, and be the lead driver on the day, their fight is not massively with each other in the bigger picture here. It's with Ocon, with Gasly, and those guys haven't pitted. Mark Slade, the engineer to Kevin Magnussen there, he's absolutely right. They've got to be careful in this stint.
I don't think it's just about the Grand Prix. He's probably a bit touchy about the football as well. Germany not beat Denmark.
It was controversial as well.
They were watching it together last night. Well, they were at the start anyway. I don't know if they were by the end. Alex Albon getting back past the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc on the brakes, and that was into turn number 3. The tricky thing for Haas is that we don't think Kevin Magnussen is going to continue with the team next year, and we know Nico Hülkenberg is leaving the team at the end of the year, and those two were hard enough to control anyway.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. With Nico Hülkenberg really getting a sort of career lifeline, signing to the Works Audi team. He's old enough and experienced enough to realise it's maybe going to be beyond his usable career, that team can reach the heady heights of challenging for world championships unless they just ace it out of the blocks in the 2026 regulations.
There would be some turnarounds. Still speculation about who will be in the second seat when it becomes the Audi team. Sauber at the moment running 12th and 13th. Zhou Guanyu having started from the pit lane, and the Saubers running last of the cars that have yet to stop. Those around the Hasses at that time not choosing to respond. An intriguing strategic decision. You've got Ocon in 8th, Gasly in 9th, and then it's Tsunoda in 10th at the lower reaches of the points at the moment. Ocon still leading his teammate Pierre Gasly, as he was when they left the line. Ocon having secured back-to-back Q3 appearances last time out. That's Bruno Fannin, the team principal, next to one of the candidates for that second seat next year. That's Jack Doohan.
Yeah, Jack Doohan, as Charles comes in for his second stop this afternoon. That first stop for that damaged front wing. A new set of mediums going on. But yeah, Jack will not have been enjoying the fact that it looks like Carlos Sainz is talking to Alpine about his future. And I normally don't like to get involved in the rumour mill, but I did hear one earlier that Mercedes had actually offered Carlos a 1-year contract, and it was him who said, no, I'm not going for that, which is interesting. You know, Jolene, I think I would be inclined to go for performance in the short term rather than trying to take that long-term vision. What's your gut?
The long-term vision is the easier life, isn't it? The short-term performance is, yeah, it's taking the easy life, having a nice steady stream of income, and probably a less competitive teammate as well, so you can really embed yourself, like Bottas has done at Sauber, for example. I think Sainz generally is a punchy driver. I think he's got a very good competitive mentality. I'd have been a bit surprised if that was true. I'm not saying it's not, but it's not the Carlos Sainz that I see in the paddock and see him on track and waiting for the best deal. To turn down 1 year at Mercedes, I think, is an interesting decision, because if he goes to Mercedes, if he thinks he can do a competitive job against George Russell, the team are making progress, he could win races still next year. And then, if it all goes completely to pot, then you can go to an Alpine or a Sauber or Audi then, and you don't have a year running towards the back. It makes more sense to take the more competitive seat, which I think he was at least holding out for.
I'm looking forward to Carlos denying that when asked about it. The British Grand Prix next week. Looking forward to that one. Plenty of moves there. That was the Haas pair getting past Zhou Guanyu, who's the last car on the road who hasn't made his stop. Fresher rubber for them meant they caught him rather quickly. It's fresh rubber now for Charles Leclerc, and that was him moving back up to 19th position. The graphics department showing how far he was behind the race leader.
So Lando, the hard does look poor, which makes this stint for us important. And also remember, we have 2 mediums, the Red Bulls don't.
So Will Joseph on the radio to Lando Norris saying the hard tyre, as DC said earlier in the broadcast, sliding around, not looking great, not looking to fulfill its purpose, which is to be the tyre with the greatest longevity. And Lando Norris being reminded they've got 2 sets of the mediums.
Which would come to what Julian was suggesting or questioning, could this be a 3-stop race? he has to change to another tyre than the medium at a certain point.
He's got to set it hard. So I think he's going to run 2 sets of mediums and a hard. I think it's a 2-stopper still. But anyone that hasn't pitted, they're staring down the barrel of a 2-stop. If you're Haas and you've pitted so early for a set of hards that you're not particularly enjoying, then will they be able to eke that through in a 2-stop? Here's the response from Esteban Ocon. This is in the battle with the Haas cars further back. He was behind Hulkenberg at the first stop. He's going to come up behind Magnussen as well, but have much fresher tyres.
Pressure pit stop then for Alpine, who receive their driver who's got the better qualifying record. Back into the fast lane we go. 2.8 seconds. That's around what they were looking for. They'll be pleased with that. He's back onto the racetrack now, Ocon, who is looking to score points again. Would be 3 in a row if he can find his way into the top 10 by the end of the Grand Prix. Bottas also in for Sauber. And he's just at the pit exit as well at the moment. But Sauber having a tough weekend so far, and looks like it's even tougher for Zhou Guanyu, who was off the road there and was recovering at turn number 3. There you go, Zhou Guanyu highlighted for you as he makes his way to turn 4, having run off the road, and he's still chasing his first points of the season. One of many drivers out of contract at the end of the year as well.
Perez is struggling in this one still, more than 4 seconds off Piastri, and he's not all that far ahead of the Alpine battle himself. Let's see what happened to Zhou. Through goes Daniel Ricciardo. Oh, and a hit.
So we believe it was Alonso.
What the f is he doing?
It was Alonso. We caught the end of it. Alonso into the side to Zhou. Zhou not happy at all as he rejoins.
Well, yeah, I can only imagine that Fernando would be great to see the off-board on that, or the long shot, because he's thought, okay, if Daniel's going through in the V-carb, I'm going to follow him because the door will be open. And it would have been difficult for Zhou to, once he's committed to the apex, having accepted the pass, to then still be looking in his mirrors.
Yeah, had Alonso just steamed in a little too much, trying to follow Daniel Ricciardo through. Zhou's having another miserable weekend. Ocon dives around him on the outside. So Ocon pitted late, has much fresher tyres, and he's going to have to come past Alonso and Ricciardo ahead as well, and Alex Albon ahead, who's made a pit stop.
Here's Lewis Hamilton in the pits at the same time as Sergio Perez in the Red Bull. That looked a decent stop for Mercedes, and it was 2.5 seconds as the driver who has won here 2 times before returns to the fast lane. Then Perez out as well, and Tsunoda comes in to make his crucial stop.
So we heard the radio message Will Joseph to Lando Norris talking about the medium tyres and is it a 2-stop? It looks like it's that way. But what was interesting is McLaren, even though the gap is over 5 seconds, they think they can win.
I think Hamilton crossed the white line on N3.
Copy that.
Well, that's an appeal to the umpire from the Australian driver. If that's the case, could be a penalty for Lewis Hamilton. We'll try and find you that footage and bring you the replay. We're going to go on board with Lewis Hamilton heading to pit entry. Let's have a look.
Oh, yeah, and then that doesn't count, does it? Because he's already then. So this is the white line in question, and well, he has gone beyond it, and that normally is, as Piastri is all aware from his penalty in qualifying.
Yes,
a white line is non-negotiable on the pit.
He's got good peripheral vision, though, hasn't he? Coming through there, that's the fastest corner on the circuit, over the blind crest at turn 9. And he's seen his rival come into the pits. And when we're talking, you needed a microscope to see Piastri's and a sensor to see Piastri's track limits in qualifying yesterday. Hamilton one was slightly clearer, but when you're coming through that at 140, 50 miles per hour, he's got good eyesight, obviously.
Yeah, the eyes of youth.
Max Verstappen's been called to the pit lane, and we still expect this to be a 2-stopper for those out front. Alonso's been given a 10-second time penalty for causing a collision with Zhou Guanyu. This is the race leader into the pits. The Red Bull hits its marks at the Red Bull ring, and 2.7 seconds will absolutely work for Verstappen. Now McLaren's turn with Lando Norris, who pits from second place. 2.6, so very, very evenly matched as Oscar Piastri, still yet to stop, takes track position, moves ahead of Verstappen and his teammates. We're on lap 24 of 71, so we've gone past now the sprint total from yesterday as Lando Norris rejoins just behind the Williams of Logan Sargent.
And we're into a new section of the race. First part dominated by Verstappen, did so much of that work in the opening few laps, and then Norris made that mistake which cost him a second on a single lap as well. But in the end they were about 5.5 seconds separated. Do you remember Imola when Verstappen built up that big buffer and then at the end they switched to that hard tyre and Norris found his rhythm on the different tyre? That's where we're at now, onto the hard tyre. Can Norris find a little more pace on this compound, and then he has the chance to go back to the medium again?
It's a 5-second time penalty for Lewis Hamilton for crossing the line on the entry. Oscar Piastri thought that was the case, and Hamilton wasn't over by much, but this is this is looking down at Max Verstappen, and this was Lando Norris directly behind, stopping straight after. Let's see what he made of it.
Yeah, he launched right into me.
Yeah, we're on it.
I couldn't turn right to the box.
Well, there's a marker on the pit wall, which the crew chief who releases the car, if he determines that the McLaren hasn't reached that marker, then they assume for a normal launch and that it's safe to do so. If they've gone past it, they won't launch the car.
I think that looked okay to me. I think there was enough distance between the two cars. We've seen closer not get penalised.
Note to self, have a little look at where those markers are on the pit wall before heading up to the comm box, and that could give you very accurate information. But it's in the digital, data-driven world, it's very much a straightforward sign, zip-tied to the pit wall gantry that denotes where all the teams can make that judgment call.
So Lewis Hamilton with that 5-second penalty for just heading wide of the entry line. Piastri comes into the pits from the race lead as we cycle through everyone in the field having made one stop. Hard tyres being attached to the McLaren as the Australian driver gets back into the fast lane, and the incident has been noted by race control. Good stop for McLaren, 2.1 seconds for the Woking-based team. Norris with the fastest lap of the race so far. He is 6.7 seconds behind Max Verstappen.
Okay, so we do have a 5-second time penalty. So we just get our head down and get on with it.
Yeah, sorry guys.
No problem, Lewis.
Well, Hamilton holding his hands up for that one. What else can he do but get on with it at this stage? He's 2.3 seconds away from Carlos Sainz on the racetrack. And now under investigation, Verstappen and Norris, so not just noted, now under investigation for an unsafe release. You can't sort that one out on track like we've seen with the first two at the start of the Grand Prix. That one's going to be at the discretion of the stewards. If it was an unsafe release, it would make it a pretty close Grand Prix. Both cars on the hard tyre, but if it was an unsafe release, you'd be looking at a 5-second penalty for the driver who's out front at the moment. Has won 7 Grand Prix so far this year.
We certainly close things up. Somewhere in that pit stop phase, Norris lost another second to Verstappen as well. I think it was on the outlap, came out with a bit of traffic, and the gap was 5.5, went up to 6.5 seconds. And now he needs to reset and get his head down. Had the fastest lap. They're very evenly matched on the first couple of laps. We'll wait and see what the stewards make of it.
Lewis, there's everything to play here, everything to play.
So Toto Wolff on the radio, we hear this from time to time. There was a long period where he was in charge of the team that you never heard him on the radio. But more and more in recent years, Sergio Perez is going to slide to the inside of Hulkenberg and take the place at turn 4. That's where we're heading with the main shot in your picture, with Daniel Ricciardo and Fernando Alonso on the circuit. George Russell, the only one to go to the medium tyre of those in the major teams out front. Charles Leclerc still stuck in 19th position. He's the one missing from the big four teams out front. 6.9 seconds is holding at the moment. This is Fernando Alonso, who was penalised for this moment. 10 seconds for making contact and sending Zhou Guanyu off the road.
I don't think he's got a case to argue there, unless he thought Zhou was being lapped and thought he'd just jump out of the way. That was never a move that was going to work in racing conditions.
Yeah, never helped if you're locked up just before the scene of the contact, which understandably he's trying to avoid it, but I don't think there will be any discussion or review. They just need to soak that up, and just adds to what's been a very challenging weekend for Aston all round.
Aston Martin cannot wait for their wind tunnel to come online and to get the benefit of the new facility. They've got a new factory, they've expanded things, they've hired so many people from other teams. They're still trying to sign Adrian Newey, who's of course on the market at the moment, but everyone's trying to sign Adrian Newey, apart from Red Bull, who have lost his services. And out front, let's hear from the race leader.
You have to let me know when I have to upshift on the end of the straight.
Understood. Gear 7 still fine, Max. Gear 7 still fine.
I didn't quite catch that.
So upshift at the end of the straight was the... You've got to tell me when to upshift at the end of the straight.
So I think the communication is whether he needs to pull 8th gear or just hold it in 7th all the way through. Quite what that's about. Energy management or potentially cooling issue as well, whether he's lifting coasting or what's going on at the end of straights, but something of concern, but he's still pulling away from Norris.
Yeah, well, they've got the box of ratios is for the year, so depending on the circuit, depends on where they end up falling. Something like Monza, they're going to be right on that upper limit with DRS in qualifying.
Yeah, somewhere like Monaco, you never touch 8th gear. This circuit, you should. So he's obviously holding it in 7th. Are they driving around a power unit issue, is what I suspect, because the driver will know. You get beeps in your ears, you can see the dash as we jump on board, you can see the rev lights coming on. Ocon knows exactly where he's upshifting. Verstappen's having to do something different.
And this is good, Charles. We're projected to come to the points, even without a safety car.
Charles Leclerc being told that it's working to Ferrari's liking. They're trying to get back in the top 10. That would have been their minimum expectation at the start of the Grand Prix, but on the opening lap of that Grand Prix, contact for Charles Leclerc, damage to the front wing, and an early pit stop he did not want. Fernando Alonso taking a very wide line into turn number 1 as he tries to hang on to 11th place. He's on the medium tyre. Esteban Ocon is the lead Alpine. 2 Alpines chasing the 2-time world champion.
Could Leclerc be looking to go to the end? Because right now he's doing 10.7. He was over 11 on the previous lap. He doesn't have anyone around him. That's like well over a second off what Sainz is doing. No, what Verstappen's doing, but certainly a lot slower than Sainz.
Yeah, he's just managing his own pace at the moment. I'm sure he'll have to pit one more time. He's pitted twice already, but the first one was the opening lap, so effectively he'd then be doing a 1-stop if he doesn't come in again. I'm sure he will, and then he's going to be in a direct fight to overtake on track a line of...
yeah, but that was my point. The times just don't seem fast enough for them to be so confident. He's running in 18th place.
But the mediums are going to fall away before the end of the race. So it looks very mediocre at the moment from Leclerc, but obviously the team on the pit wall seeing some positivity. The field's very close in front of him. All the gaps are tight, all the way up to Kevin Magnussen in 9th, so that's the positive.
Sergio Perez is under investigation for speeding in the pit lane. Usually when we see under investigation, it's a 5-second penalty. And I imagine we'll get that news fairly quickly. This is Pierre Gasly in 13th place. Teammate directly ahead. Fernando Alonso on medium tyres that are 19 laps old is in 11th. And Daniel Ricciardo fighting for his Formula 1 future. And the 2 Haas cars ahead, currently in 10th. Currently clinging on to that final point. Ricciardo's been on that hard tyre for 20 laps. He was part of a gaggle of cars that went super aggressive at the start of this Grand Prix, came in way earlier than any of the predictions from the data team that we had expected this to be a two-stop race at the start of the Grand Prix. We're on lap 32 of 71. Max Verstappen got the launch that he wanted off the line. Lando Norris was close with George Russell there into the first turn, but Norris was able to protect second place. Then Russell hung on to third. Further back, Hamilton got up to fourth position, past Carlos Sainz, but was under investigation for that, so swapped back round those places. There was an entertaining tussle between Perez and Piastri. Piastri felt that he'd been forced into the gravel and then was able to take the position away from Perez with a sweet move around the outside of turn number 6. That's the story of the top 6 at the moment. The Alpines are getting dangerously close to contact. We've already seen it before this year, and it's Ocon in the lead of this battle for the moment.
Yeah, that's never nice to see a car having to sort of weave in the braking zone. It kind of shown as if he was thinking about the inside, and as that was partially covered, then came wide to the outside, only, I assume, to try and get a sweeper out of 3.
Perez does have a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. His tough run continuing, the driver in 7th place.
Puts him behind Hülkenberg and Magnussen as we run right now. You've got to assume he's got enough pace in that Red Bull to secure that position, currently running in 7th.
He's having to fight for it against the Haas's at the moment. Haas did pit very early, so Perez should just get away from them in this stint. These two Alpines, they're not the best of mates, are they? So Gasly has a look to the inside, and Ocon just sort of wafts towards the inside, says, don't try that one. And Gasly will go for another chance on the next lap. You just wince when you go from the inside, having a half a look in, and then you go to the outside, you go through the dirty air face, you've still got a load of brake pressure. It's so easy to have a lock up there and clatter into the car ahead. But Gasly managed to measure that one quite well. They're all in a DRS train as well, so he's managed to do that without the benefit of DRS.
I'd be amazed if he's not on the radio saying, look, I'm quicker, let me go and see if I can have a nibble at the Aston of Alonso.
He will be. He's staying in the team. Ocon isn't. Do you reckon Ocon's going to jump out of the way for him?
Ocon played the team game in Canada.
He's got to pass Fernando faster, losing time now.
Copy that.
Well, the two drivers alongside me predicted that. That was the message from one-time Grand Prix winner Pierre Gasly. Ocon played the team game in Canada, but then wasn't given the chance to swap back and was furious with it on the cool-down lap, so good luck trying to persuade him around here. Ocon trying to get past Alonso, Alonso trying to get past Ricciardo, and Gasly believes he's quicker than all of them ahead. Charles Leclerc back into the pits, so the Ferrari driver who was told that he was projected to be in the points, that's bad news for Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Ricciardo, Alonso and the two Alpines.
Yeah, he's not doing long stints, is he? So, third time in the pits, as Julian mentioned, as a reminder for anyone who's just joined, and had that first lap wing incident, so that was effectively not, the first set of tyres that he's just taken off, have done the main part of this Grand Prix.
Lando Norris, fairly close to contact between those two on the straight as Leclerc comes out of the pits, and Norris continues on his way, 8 seconds away from Max Verstappen, and it will stay 8 seconds because there is no further action for that potential unsafe release. The stewards agreeing with Jolyon Palmer's view of things in the commentary box.
Don't always like to tempt fate with the stewards, but they took their time, didn't they? And then eventually have realised. I think Verstappen was just a little too far ahead of Norris for Norris. A valiant complaint, you try, of course, but I think they were right to wave that one away. Ocon finally does pass Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, did so at turn number 1. Alonso trying to come back, huge amount of speed. One Alpine has gone through, so is the second one. Alonso has run out of tyres as we run wheel to wheel, and again the Alpines are providing us with on-track action. The team won't like it, but it's brilliant entertainment for us. Ocon and Gasly didn't get on before. They pretended for 1 year. Ocon's leaving. He's leaving the team, and it's gloves off once again. Alonso, he's not had peak power this weekend. He's got no tyres, and he's lost the track position.
And he doesn't get on very well with Ocon either, does he? He's the former teammate who's saying, wow, I think, at the way that Ocon came across the front of him as he was coming back with DRS on the straight up towards turn 3.
Yeah, running over that sausage curve, you do run the risk of picking up some floor damage as Alonso responds to that instruction to head to the pit lane.
The Aston Martin team will receive Fernando Alonso, and it's not been an easy time of it. Alonso comes in for another stop to make our way beyond half distance. Russell continuing on that medium tyre to have an advantage over Sainz. Hamilton, oh, there's Alonso with his 10-second penalty being served before. That's a contact with Joe Guan Yu, so they have to wait 10 seconds before they can go to work. And then he's back into the race, but not with the car to match his talent. This is Pierre Gasly, got a great view of the action. First of all, this was Ocon getting by into turn number 1.
Yeah, he's then going to have a nice clean run on the Aston Martin. That 10 seconds sitting waiting before they start servicing the car it feels like an eternity, it feels like a minute. So you saw there as Fernando thought about going down the inside, the overspeed.
What the? What was that? Why did you see just run me off the track?
Esteban Ocon making friends on the left, making friends on the right, everywhere he goes. Nearly contact with Fernando Alonso, nearly contact with his teammate, and Bruno Famin wasn't delighted in Monaco when those two made contact. I think we'll get a cutaway of the team principal at Alpine any second now.
As soon as Gasly committed to that outside move, you just knew he was destined for the runoff though, didn't you?
Yeah, he had a massive overspeed, double slipstream. He's got a V-carb locking up in defence.
As Yuki Tsunoda making the pass on Alex Albon, it's for 13th place. He was all locked up, he was at the mercy of where Albon had placed his car, but he does make the position his. He's up to 13th now. He's on fresher tyres, 15 lap old hard tyres for Tsunoda, 24 lap old hard tyres for Alex Albon.
Yeah, it didn't look like it was a overly long lock-up, because otherwise you do pick up that little flat spot, which could take away your vision and can put undue strain on the suspension. You can imagine the frequency of the vibration once you've lost the balance on that tyre.
You saw on your screen a moment ago, wonderful view at the top of the hill. You can see so much of the track from there if you ever get a chance to attend this Grand Prix. Wonderful atmosphere up there as well. We're looking at Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes, Oscar Piastri in his second season of Formula One in the McLaren. Had his best moment of the race at that stage. Daniel Ricciardo's into the pits. He's got a 2.2 second stop to show for it as well after a long stint on the hard tyre for the Australian driver. He's in the battle for the lower reaches of the points. And this gap is coming down and down and down, and the McLaren, just a faster car at the moment.
Yeah, got the gap down. As you can see there, 1.5 seconds. He's going to soon be in that DRS activation. It just doesn't feel that Hamilton has the pace of McLaren to get himself this, well, halfway through the Grand Prix, but it's not really the time to be weaving around and trying to control them. That's for in the final stint.
Out front, 8.1 seconds between Verstappen and Norris, a 1:10.1 from both of them last time around. Max Verstappen 0.02 of a second quicker than Lando Norris. As we recap the strategy there between Hamilton and Piastri. You can see Piastri with that fresher tyre advantage, having been the last driver to pit. And now more stops for the team that went very aggressive at the start with both cars. Have to be told to calm down on track. It's Magnussen into the pits, a 2.9 second stop, and he is back into the race. His teammate in 8th position, as Haas trying to return to the points today. Hulkenberg hasn't scored since China.
I don't know what's happening. Tires are suddenly really bad.
Copy.
Well, they are on the hard tyre. It's been reported that the hard tyre is not great. It is sliding around. It's not serving its purpose as the most durable compound. But the times are almost identical. This is on board with Lance Stroll, who's trying to get past Williams of Alex Albon, and does so into turn number 6.
Yeah, we just joined the onboard there as he positioned his car down the inside. Must have had a really good run out of 4. And yeah, not really where you would expect Aston to be battling, but he is indeed, and he's found his way through. Just on the tyres, when Max is asking, or certainly stating that the tyres suddenly got really bad, as you wear the tyre and you lose surface, you actually, what they call the gauge, you can go into different phases of how the compound is heating up and how it dissipates the heat. Typically, as you lose gauge, it becomes more difficult to maintain temperature because there just isn't the compound of rubber there moving around. So he's experiencing firsthand as the battle continues between the Alpines.
Ocon on the left-hand side, on board with Pierre Gasly. One driver on the left leaving the team. And that was a chop across the bows there of Gasly, who's now trying to go to the outside line. He's trying to keep two wheels on the racetrack. He's done that. The outside line will become the inside line. And Ocon can't stay in the battle. Gasly gets by and takes 8th place.
It's the best soap in Formula One, isn't it? The two Alpines going wheel to wheel. And it happens every weekend at the moment. They always seem to be finding the same space. They're so evenly matched overall. One's staying, one's leaving. They don't like each other, but that was beautiful racing between them.
Yeah, I think beautifully put. It has not been a marriage made in heaven. Well, in name and ownership, the all-French team, of course, based out of, is it Enstone in Oxfordshire?
It is indeed. It's been known by many different names. They're currently having their worst season since they were called Tolman back in the 80s. That's how poor the start to the year has been for the Enstone-based team. They're having a really tough campaign.
It's worse than 2016.
It is worse than 2016. Any idea who was driving then?
Yeah.
He's just finished counselling for that.
Well, K-Mag did a lot of heavy lifting at the start of that year, I think.
Yeah, has been even worse than that in the opening races of the year. That was Ocon defending. He's also being looked at by race control for his defence on Fernando Alonso. Gasly plating the car nicely, and by turn number 4, eventually it was resolved.
Well, it's good wheel-to-wheel action, very entertaining. And, well, if you're not up with the front runners, you've got to do something interesting to get some television time. So their partners and sponsors will be very happy.
On this occasion. Brilliant move in the end from Gasly, though, wasn't it? Ocon still within DRS range. I still think that race could go on for the remaining 30 laps as well. But it was a lovely move. We said before, when he committed to the outside at turn 3, it felt like he was always going to be washed wide. And he went for it again at turn 4, and there's gravel on the outside there as well, so it's quite brave. But to be fair to Ocon, gave him the necessary space.
I'm still enjoying you questioning the stat for the year that you were racing for the team. Gasly saying ciao on the radio. Oh, the spice.
He's still behind it. It's only 6/10. Maybe he's saying hello.
The needle never ends between the two Alpines, but it's been an interesting subplot. Next car up the road is Sergio Perez for Gasly, so he's at the head of the field. Got to consider the others, though, that are doing a different thing on strategy, and got to remember that Charles Leclerc was told on the radio earlier on that he was projected to get to the points. So it looks good for them at the moment, but long way to go in this one.
It's interesting, isn't it? I'm not a linguist, but you would have thought au revoir would have been the correct expression for a French. It's in French.
Yeah, the two drivers, Ocon and Gasly, who grew up not too many miles apart in the north of the country. Gasly born in Rouen, and Ocon not too far away.
Everyone's so multilingual these days, aren't they? French driver and a French team based in the UK, speaking a little...
See.
Exactly. It's part of being a Formula One driver, isn't it, DC?
Yes. 29 years based in Monaco, and I can just about order a coffee.
Alex Albon's being looked at for the same thing that got Lewis Hamilton. A 5-second penalty. That's crossing the white line on the way into the pits. Just keep an eye on the gap between Verstappen and Norris. It's come down dramatically in the last couple of laps. Last time around 0.8 of a second. That's a piece of bodywork coming off the Alpine of Esteban Ocon. Quite a lot of bodywork as well.
Yeah, that's aero part hanging right underneath the left rear suspension, which will clean up the air coming either side of the wheel flow. It might actually even have an impact on the cooling of the brakes.
Yeah, it looked like it was the brake duct, wasn't it, that came off the rear left there. So that's going to be an issue on a circuit where you're already struggling on brake temps. That's the problem with running. We sort of 23 laps yesterday in the sprint, but consecutively lap 44 or 71, still drilling it over those curves. Okay, there's gravel on the outside, but every time they're using those curves at high load, and it can have that effect.
Ocon into the pits, 2.2 seconds stop for him. Gasly was in the lap before. Worth saying as well that Verstappen was making his way through the traffic, which is why he lost 0.8 of a second on that last lap. But the gap has come down from 8 seconds to 6.6 as Lando Norris tries to close down Max Verstappen and win his second career Grand Prix. There's Pierre Gasly, still with track position over Esteban Ocon. No update from race control at the moment about that defensive move to Fernando Alonso, who produced a wow from Fernando on the radio. You can see lap 41, lap 42, lap 43, and Norris catching Verstappen.
With Ocon pitting, I think there's only 8 drivers on the lead lap right now. Verstappen's pace has been so relentless from the first lap. He did lose a second and a half, but he had to come past the Haas cars and Ricciardo. Norris has got them between the second place McLaren and the race leader as well. 6.5 seconds and a few back markers.
Bit of cloud cover is probably making things a bit more comfortable. It's incredible how when the clouds do come over, well, we know as human beings, if we're standing in bright sunshine versus a bit of cloud cover, you just feel the heat disappear, and it's the same for the longevity of the tyres, how the driver feels with that contact patch with the tarmac as Albon gets his penalty for the white line. It is a tricky one here, but I don't remember of the last few years anyone picking up penalties for passing the pit lane entry, the white line and pit lane entry, and we've had 2 so far.
Something that we've seen too much of in previous years around this circuit.
It's a difficult entry because it's a fast corner. You have to commit to the inside for safety reasons, basically, so you're not chopping across to the inside too late. So the white line comes a long way before turn 9, and so I don't know where Albon's crossed it. Has he crossed it before turn 9, or has he done what Hamilton did and have an oversteer through the corner and then use more than the half-track width?
George Russell being called into the pits. He's got Lance Stroll ahead of him on the racetrack. Stroll finds himself in 15th position. Where you catch the traffic around this circuit can make a difference, especially if it's an in-lap. He's only got a margin of 2.5 seconds over Carlos Sainz, and that's not ideal for George Russell, who comes into the pits. This is the part of the racetrack we've been talking about, that entry line, all good for George Russell as he hits his marks. And we'll say goodbye to those tyres in a few moments' time.
You see that slightly shorter line bringing you into the pit lane, so you get a little advantage over the car out on track before having to get the car serviced. A couple of seconds is what you're looking for. Stopped, 2.3, not bad.
That's a very solid stop for Mercedes, fighting for a podium, which will still mean quite a lot to the team that are desperate to get back right to the sharp end again. Fitted the hard tyres onto Russell, which they had to do because he's done 2 stints of medium, so new hard tyres to go to the end. They'll comfortably make 24 laps. But Sainz has got a shot here because he can switch to the mediums and go attacking on the favourable tyre in the last stint.
So that's George Russell lapping the car, and Lance Stroll, even though he's in 15th, going past Russell. Stroll, who was on fresher rubber, making use of that rubber and momentarily unlapping himself, and definitely not making himself popular with George Russell.
But he's entitled to do that as well, to
not against
unlap
the
himself. And he's actually lapping just quicker than Verstappen out front. And that's when the tyres are dropping away with degradation, you can find back markers, put on new tyres, and are the quickest person on the circuit. And we saw how close the whole field was in Q1 yesterday.
Meanwhile, Piastri got himself there within DRS. You'll see that traffic ahead. You'll want to try, if you can, get a pass on Hamilton before he pulls himself back up onto the back of Bottas, who's the traffic.
I can't hold this much longer, mate, behind.
Yeah, understood, mate.
An animated Max Verstappen. That is Oscar Piastri getting to the apex first, and Piastri worked hard for that move, coming through and taking what is currently 3rd place away from Lewis Hamilton, who's trying to come back. Now, can he hug that inside line? He's still got DRS because of the single detection point, and Piastri takes the place.
No need for Hamilton to fight too hard because he's going to have a 5-second penalty as well, remember, for crossing that white line. That'll be when he takes his next pit stop very shortly, I imagine. But it's important for Piastri to clear Hamilton and see if he can get himself into the fight for 3rd in the final stint. I think Verstappen, by the way, is talking about keeping the two Haas cars behind, who pitted. They're on new tyres. He doesn't want to be unlapped in the same way as Russell, because that will cost him a lot of time.
Yeah.
He's got 7 seconds to Norris. He could lose 2 or 3 by being unlapped.
Yeah, and he went, what, 4/10 quicker than Norris that last time around. So he's keeping it around that 7-second window, which is what I would say is a fairly comfortable gap to allow the battle of the pit stops to go on. You can even have a slightly slow one and expect to still come out in front.
The incident between Ocon and Alonso, the defence going up the hill to turn number 3, that's been waved away, no further investigation required there. George Russell sets the fastest lap of the race on his new hard tyres. He had run medium in the first couple of stints. It's Verstappen, Norris and Piastri, then Lewis Hamilton. They've all got to come in again.
So look at this. This is Gasly looking at the back of Leclerc for 11th place. In front of Leclerc is Lando Norris, who's running in 2nd place in this race. But the drivers that are now a lap down, it's a short circuit, so you go a lap down quite easily around here. But they're a lap down, I mean, put fresher tyres on, and they're just stuck behind the race leaders.
Good lap, Max. Gap is up to 7.1. Lando, I think, struggling in the wake of the blue flag cars.
Yeah, but the problem is behind me.
I understand, Max, but there's quite a train of cars that we would put into, so we're fine for now.
That's the sound of the World Championship leader with 2 Hasses directly behind, and Hulkenberg is the one applying the most pressure. He's desperate not to be unlapped here.
He's feeling the heat. Who thought today Verstappen would be feeling the heat from a couple of Hasses on his gearbox?
Yeah, he's got friendly though behind. Nico lives in the next building in Monaco, which doesn't guarantee a friendship, but they have a friendly dialogue between the two. Magnussen, when the helmet goes on, he's just full attack on anyone.
Yeah, I think Verstappen will be fairly relieved it's Hulkenberg, not Magnussen, and they are running right behind the race leader, so there are parts on the timing page on the left-hand side. They're together on the racetrack. We're continuing to ride on board with Pierre Gasly. Daniel Ricciardo finds himself in 10th position, Charles Leclerc in 11th, then it's Gasly trying to make the pass. You've got a McLaren in the mix there of Lando Norris. He's the driver in 2nd place, 6.8 seconds away. Everyone on that hard tyre, Verstappen, Norris, Piastri and Hamilton struggling with that hard tyre and sliding around. That's Gasly late on the brakes. They're taking the position away as off the road goes Lando Norris, and that will extend that 7-second gap. They are struggling on these hard tyres.
Tyres are man.
Understood.
Told you, they are really struggling on these tyres. Lock up there as Gasly managed to maintain the place. Charles Leclerc came back, but he wasn't able to do it. And Red Bull can wait no longer. They're calling Verstappen in.
Yeah, the message was loud and clear as Charles Leclerc is really struggling as well on that set of tyres. A set of mediums on, and he was sort of nibbling away at that gap to Daniel Ricciardo, who's got the last point right now.
Norris pits as well, so once again they're going toe-to-toe. Verstappen sweeps in, Norris sweeps in just behind, and Lando's got a set of mediums.
Hold on, was that slow? Was that slow? Sorry, Charlie and cutting across. Was that a slow stop?
They waited for the release, took no chances, so that will definitely have played to the advantage of McLaren, and then Norris will be visibly closer to Verstappen as they both go out on their new tyres. So I think you might be right. It might have been a slightly slow stop, but equally, I think they had to wait for the McLaren to clear.
We'll have a look at it again, but that gap will have come down. It has come down massively.
Oh my God.
All right, it's fine. While on the exit.
And it was new tyres on the McLaren, used tyres on the Red Bull as well. So that's the advantage that McLaren were telling Lando Norris in the first stint, saying stay with him. This race is going to be long, and it could yet come towards you. They've had the helping hand of a slow stop.
He's gone wide. Oh, he did lock up. Did he make the corner? Oh, my word. Pushing on the outlap there. And that is where Formula One has got to. That is where Formula One has got to in recent weeks. Everything matters now. The stops, there is no gap of luxury for Red Bull and Max Verstappen. Lando Norris is chasing them all the way. The gap was 7 seconds. It's now 1.7 seconds.
Yeah, it's been eaten away, and he knows he's marginalised set of struck tyres, it just doesn't give you this Scooby-Doo feeling of extra grip when you go out on track. That's what Lando's got. He's going to clear the traffic very quickly and have the DRS advantage as well.
Yeah, that DRS should work well for Norris. Alonso's the next car he's got to clear. Left rear, very slow coming off, and then, because it was slow, he then had to wait for Norris as well once the left rear was attached.
This was leaving the pit lane. So that slow pit stop, so unlike Red Bull, who are being pushed all the way by McLaren, and this was turn 4.
Yeah, just didn't have the front axle, and Norris, well, half a second quicker in the first sector alone. Part of that would have been DRS passing up into 3.
He's almost within a second. He's almost within a second of Verstappen, and then he'll have the DRS as well.
He has cleared the cars. Max Verstappen is still trying to make his way through the traffic. The next car up the road, Yuki Tsunoda, the driver who's running in 15th place. But we have drivers at fresher tyres. Look at the gap. Does it get within a second? This Grand Prix has come alive through the crucial pit stop sequence with the fact that the degradation is so intense and it's a short lap that you've got Tsunoda out of the way, but you've got multiple cars here at different parts of the timing page, but in the same part of the racetrack, and Norris does the fastest lap of the race, trying to get inside that magical 1 second window. Lewis Hamilton pits, game on at the front of the field.
And he's there, he's within a second. He'll get DRS on the exit of this corner as well. Suddenly, out of nowhere, we've got a race on our hands, and Norris has got to stay within DRS, apply the pressure, and there's loads of traffic for them to pass as well.
Those fresh tyres are just going to give him so much more confidence to attack the braking zones. He'll know that, Max will know that, and we saw him be feisty in the sprint. He has to get on Max and go straight away.
Max has been so calm under pressure in recent races. He's absorbed a lot. Think of Imola. Think of Canada as well, where there was so much that could have gone wrong. Think of the sprint just yesterday, where Norris came fast and Verstappen managed to come back through the very next corner. He's got to do the same again now, and this couldn't be much closer as they come through. 16 laps to go. There's going to be pressure to the end.
It's like a light switch has completely changed the course of this Grand Prix from 7 seconds to half a second as we go through the first of 3 DRS zones around this racetrack. Here's the next one. He'll get one to turn 4 as well. This is where he got past in the sprint yesterday. Lando Norris, is he brave immediately again? This time Verstappen covers it off. Does that leave him vulnerable? They both make the corner, but they were deep. And Verstappen, that time, surely on the basis of what Lando did yesterday, had to cover the line. This Grand Prix has come alive.
He did, he knew it. He doesn't forget quickly. Norris going to complain.
Yeah, he reacted to my move. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah,
Okay, we're on it.
Yeah, well look, you've got to use everything in the toolbox if you're going to beat a Max Verstappen. So complaining to the stewards is one of those, but Max has to keep neutralising him whilst those tyres are still fresher.
He saw me move, then he moved.
We're
That's not
reporting
allowed.
to the race director. He saw you move and then moved.
Yeah, but Lando's got to get on with it. I don't think Max is going to get a penalty for that. Lando's got to get on with it and keep using this advantage to apply the pressure again. Albon jumps out of the way. There's the next car ahead, which is Stroll, who's going to jump out of the way as well. But this gives Verstappen DRS on this lap and a slight bit of breathing space.
Yeah, of course, those tyres will always be younger, but you lose the new tyre performance, and then you start getting into this. It's a slightly weird transition, isn't it? When you take the freshness out of a tyre, whilst it's finding how that tyre is going to give you the grip and balance, sometimes you can be neutralised a little bit in tyre performance for a couple of laps.
And the more he stays glued to the back of Verstappen and he's hustling away, trying to create the opportunity, the more the tyres start to overheat and he loses even quicker the new tyre feeling.
You're getting the replay of it at the top right of your screen, and that was for the Grand Prix lead. Look at the gap. It's 9/10 of a second. It's right on the brink.
I think Lando's got a point, to be honest. I think it does shape up to the middle of the road. Max knows after yesterday that's what he might do, and he did cover it late. He did jink to the inside. Is it enough for a penalty, though?
It's like there's something wrong with the car, man. I have no grip.
Red Bull being pushed every inch of the way. This is the 16-metre climb. That's GP, the race engineer, that you hear unflappable always in conversation with his driver who leads the World Championship, extended his lead in the World Championship yesterday. His closest challenger, the man who is 7/10 of a second, right behind him. Say goodbye to that tear-off, say hello to a battle all the way to the end now. Those new tyres, though, they will lose that peak performance. Can Lando Norris shape for another move before that happens?
Verstappen looks like he's settled down a little bit more. Norris is not close enough to make him sweat through the braking zones of those hairpins, and then he's quick through the faster corners. It's the Verstappen rule is the one that Max basically broke on that one. When moving in the braking zones and being reactive.
Also mid-6, if you'd prefer, mid-6.
No.
Norris is close.
Norris is close, but Norris has the black and white warning flag for track limits to add another ingredient to this Grand Prix. If he goes over track limits again, he is staring at a penalty. Can he shape for another move? Max Verstappen is checking the left mirror and the right mirror because his closest challenger in the championship is looming large in the mirrors. He wasn't close enough that time, but this is the third DRS zone of the circuit, and there's an opportunity now. Can he dive to the inside? Verstappen will know there's a threat. There won't be an opportunity this time.
Yeah, 4 is a really difficult one to launch it down. Max a little bit deep there, and he's gone wide on the curb. It cost him a bit of time, but he'll know he's throwing up some dirty air in 6 and 7.
Can he pull anything out in these left-handers? He's got the final 2. He's right out towards the gravel exit of turn 6 as well, giving it full beams to try and create the gap. Is he going to catch the next car ahead, which is Logan Sargent, which will give him crucial DRS on the next lap as well? Don't think he is. He's not going to be within a second, is he, this time?
He needs everything, otherwise Lando looks closer than he has been. Max just looks like he's on a longer line through the turns, not generating the grip. As McLaren, well, Lando's has got Adam Norris, that's his manager, actually. So wrong graphic on there, but as McLaren's team anxiously look on.
Is it late again? Is it great again for Lando Norris, who tries to slow it down, but he overtook him off the road? What a late lunge it was, but he'll have to give that place back, and he knows it. How can he give the place back in a way that doesn't disadvantage him? He's the new race leader, but he did it off the racetrack. It won't count. And can you remember the middle of this Grand Prix? Because I can't. The ending, though, unbelievable.
Yeah, we took outside the track.
Yes, he did, and the place is given back straight away. Norris not mucking around trying to hold on to that one, but that's going to give Verstappen the jitters every time they're heading up towards turn 3. What a lunge this one is.
Last of the late breakers. Even Max wasn't going to block that one off. He left the space, and Lando just couldn't get the car stopped.
He wasn't miles away from getting it stopped there from so far back either.
I love how quick this lap is, because we're almost instantly on to take 4 of this battle. These two have been on the front row 3 times in the last 7 days. This is the battle for victory in Formula One, week in, week out. And Lando Norris, time and time again, is sending one to the inside, not this time, but he has got everything in his locker now to try and hurl at the dominant Dutchman, the man who has redefined things in Formula One in recent times. He's taken 2/3 of the victory since the start of 2021, but he's under huge pressure.
He can't keep moving after I've moved. It's just dangerous. Oh, we're going to have a big shot. He forced me to go wide and look off.
Understood, mate. He keeps forcing me off. It was the right thing to do to give the position back. Let's get it again.
Yeah, but I can't keep doing this if he keeps moving on and look up.
Well, welcome to the front line, Lando Norris. You've got the speed, you've got the talent. You now need to match Max when it comes to wheel to wheel.
He's got another chance again. He's closer, heading up towards turn 1. Every time Max looks up and sees a back marker heading towards him, it's a lifeline of a bit of DRS, but this is closer for Norris, half a second away.
This is the one.
Stand by for a change of lead. Well, only if Lando Norris can get to the apex first. Not this time. Waits for the opportunity. Knew the gap was going to disappear. But now, traction race. Is there an opportunity? Turn 3 is your best bet. Turn 4 is risk it all, trying to get by. Can he get to the inside? That's what you need there. Not this time. But Verstappen is driving on his left mirror, on his right mirror, and at the moment it's enough. There are 0.3 of a second for the lead in Austria. We're on lap 61 of 71, and Max Verstappen is clinging on to the largest trophy.
Not entirely sure how he thinks she forced him off, Max. As in, Lando went straight up the inside, went too far.
Hold on a minute. Lando Norris is under investigation for track limits. He was given the black and white warning flag, and one more strike meant a penalty. 10 laps to go. Lando is ducking to the left, ducking to the right. He's all over the back of the championship leader, but is he facing a penalty for taking all 4 wheels beyond the white line of this racetrack? This is right in the balance now, on track, on the timing page, in the steward's room, potentially.
I'm speechless. I just want to see great action, wheel-to-wheel racing like we're seeing right now.
This is a great opportunity. It's the inside line that you want here. No, not this time for Norris. It's that apex that you've got to be really brave to get to. That's where Leclerc took the lead from Max Verstappen when he won in 2022.
And there's gravel on the outside if you get it wrong at turn 4. So you've got to have that little bit more caution. Lando at turn 3 is able to risk it all going down the inside, but he knows that there's the runoff there. 0.6 between them. I hope that track limits comes to nothing. It never bodes well to see it investigated like that, but McLaren are wise just not to tell their driver right now.
Try and take the track position and then argue and argue and argue for all it is worth. We have seen battles for the lead decided late on here between Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. They did so in spectacular fashion in 2019. It went to the last lap in 2016 between the Mercedes pair. And now on lap 63, Lando Norris slows it down. That one will count if he can stand on the power. Max Verstappen was off the road to maintain the place. There'll be all sorts of investigations there. What a battle between the top 2 in Formula 1.
Full commitment from Norris, once again sending it to the inside. Verstappen, you can just hear him harvesting energy at the end of the straight.
Yeah, he has to give the position back. I was ahead at the apex.
Yeah, and he went off track.
And Lando's right, that was a fair move. It was deep, it was aggressive, he was locked up, but he made the corner, and Verstappen kept the place by going wide. Max has to give that back.
He forced me off again.
Not clever, is it?
He's just dive bombing, like, that's not how you overtake.
It's how he's trying to overtake. I tell you what could be likely here. If Verstappen won't give the place up, and he doesn't look like he's going to, and Norris has gone beyond track limits, it's 5-second penalties, neutralised, and game on at the front of the field. Game on once again. This time it's the outside line. Oh, they make contact. He's got a puncture. He's damaged his front wing. The leading contenders for the World Championship come together at turn 3. The crowd can't believe it. And George Russell will be looking at the gap. He's the man in third after Verstappen and Norris come together chasing the lead.
Incredible. Norris has got a puncture as well, has he? Or is he just going around Verstappen, who's crawling? Verstappen's going to tumble all the way down. I think Norris is struggling.
Norris gets to the lead of the race, but what condition is the car in? These two friends, turned rivals, turned into each other at turn number 3, and Norris is struggling. George Russell is catching the pair of them. The man who's got one victory in Formula 1 might be about to take the lead.
Nice. Oh my God.
There it is, there's the moment. George Russell into the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix. Can you believe what we're seeing? Verstappen and Norris fighting lap after lap, and it's the door swung wide open for George Russell, who leads Carlos Sainz by 2.2 seconds.
Incredible stuff. George was saying yesterday he'll do his best, he'll see what happens and hope that something comes of Norris and Verstappen, and it has finally. Punctures for both. By the way, Norris has got a 5-second penalty. Forget that, that's irrelevant right now. Verstappen comes in and takes a new set of soft tyres. Russell, out of nowhere, leads the race, and Sainz is closing in on him.
Sainz is on the medium tyre. Norris limps back to the pit lane. One of the most dramatic moments we have seen in Formula One for recent years. When you are sharing the front row, time and time again, this might just be inevitable. On board with Oscar Piastri going alongside, trying to take second place. This is absolutely unbelievable stuff. Piastri, now a contender to win this Grand Prix. He's up to second.
What a move! What a move from Piastri. He loves that one round the outside at turn 6. Sainz tried his best to hold back. So while Sainz was catching, now Piastri's catching. He's on the better tyre than Russell, and he's on the fresher tyre than Russell by 5 laps as well. And he's got 5 laps to try and make this.
Lando Norris was dreaming of a second Grand Prix victory. He is out of the race, having made contact with Max Verstappen. There was just too much battling as the virtual safety car comes out to neutralise this race, which is probably good for the state of your speakers.
George, you can win this. You can win this, George.
Just let me drive.
George already knows, Toto. George already knows.
Yeah, there's a time to just let George Russell do his thing, and that is now. Virtual safety car should be good news for him. He needs to stay focused. Let's have a look then. Norris goes to the outside, and then Verstappen's just moving back. Lando held his ground, and the new McLaren front wing puncturing the rear left of Verstappen. Max then comes across the track for good measure and puts Lando towards the grass. But where did Lando pick up? Was it in the same? Was it a double contact then? So there's the first contact, the
rear to rear tyre,
and it's actually gone immediately. Actually, the left rear of Verstappen immediately popped.
The virtual safety car is ending. We're reviewing the moment that took the top 2 contenders in the World Championship out of the top 2 of the Austrian Grand Prix. That is what it looked like in the garage. McLaren looking for their second win of the season. They might still get it. Oscar Piastri versus George Russell. The man from Melbourne who's never won a Formula One Grand Prix. He's got a sprint race. George Russell only has 1. What an incredible situation.
And there's no back markers between them either. Russell's got Stroll to pass right now, and then a bit of clear space. Piastri could see his rival, the race leader, just ahead. That was George sweeping round and ailing Norris and Verstappen. He wouldn't believe his lucky stars as he comes through turn 7, and he's now just a handful of laps away from a race win. I don't think Verstappen's wheel-to-wheel has been all that impressive in this one. He came across the front of Norris. Lando was already up to the curb, and Max just cramped the space, and that was the touch. Both rear tyres bursting simultaneously, but already he'd kept the place by going off the track, and already he'd moved in the braking zone. This was Verstappen, elbows out, but going a little bit over the top there, I think, with his defence.
McLaren had caught him on track. The slow stop didn't help. It heaped on the pressure. Now we have a Mercedes in the lead, but Red Bull put under that pressure by McLaren. And in clear air, last time around, George Russell, a 1/10 of a second quicker than Oscar Piastri, who's on to equal his best in a Formula One Grand Prix. You're looking at the driver who led the first lap in Montreal, the first lap in Barcelona, and it might be the last lap in Austria as Max Verstappen gets a 10-second penalty for causing a collision.
Yeah, it was just desperate. It was too desperate for a driver that's won so much recently. The way that he was doing it, everything he was doing was desperate, really, in the battle. 3 different times, and the final one, Lando just held his ground. He'd said it over the radio a few times. Finally, he held his ground. The contact happened. Max gets a penalty. Problem is, it doesn't help Norris out. He's out of the race. He should have been winning this one.
Are we going to see a 4th different constructor to win a Grand Prix this year? And might it be Mercedes, who haven't won a Grand Prix since George Russell took the flag in Sao Paulo? Piastri will be desperate to try and extract the last from the medium compound of tyre. Verstappen is still 5th. He's 5th. He's still scoring points. He has got that 10-second penalty, which will be applied. 3 laps to go. I got to tell you, a little bit of behind the scenes. We sent DC downstairs to interview the winner. I hope someone's told him what happened between getting to the commentary box and getting down to Parc Fermé, because it has changed like it has never changed before. In an instance like that, there is something about this racetrack. Leclerc versus Verstappen in 2019, epic. And they wondered for a while whether there would be a penalty in the stewards' room. Contact between Rosberg and Hamilton on the last lap in 2016. And in 2024, it looked for all the world like Lando Norris was going to make the move. Verstappen throwing all the defence he could. They come together. Piastri responds immediately, coming alive with just a phenomenal move on Carlos Sainz, and there are 2 seconds between the top two. Piastri started this Grand Prix in 7th place. Russell started it in 3rd with his best ever starting position. And we are arguing all the way through the field. Hülkenberg is racing Perez. Hülkenberg looking for his best result of the season by far. You're looking at the race leader on the penultimate lap. Not called Max, not called Lando. George Russell at the front of the field.
Gotta keep it calm. Keep it smooth. There's the McLaren in 2nd place behind. Piastri had the DRS as well as he laps Logan Sargent. But Russell has just got to focus on his own job. Don't look in the mirrors. Don't think about anything else. Keep your pace up and you won't have to defend at all.
Verstappen has the bonus point for fastest lap. He's 8 seconds away in the middle of nowhere in that timing tower. So Gasly is 10th. Ricciardo is back into the points in Formula 1 in 9th as it stands. Magnussen, 2 Hasses in the points would be enormous. But what a moment this might be for George Russell, who has gone toe-to-toe with a 7-time world champion. And 9 times this year, he's been the lead Mercedes on the grid. But when it's come to races, well, it's been a tighter story. 86 points for Russell going into this one against Hamilton's 73. Could you believe that this sentence would be true a few laps ago? We're on to the 71st and final lap of the Grand Prix with George Russell as the leader.
7 corners to go. Make that 6 as he sweeps through turn 1. Don't even know if he's going to catch those 2 cars ahead. They're quite quick. It's Charles Leclerc on the back of Esteban Ocon, still outside of the points, and Russell will hope that they don't even complicate things right now. He's got 2.5 seconds back to Oscar Piastri. He's driven really well in this race. He's been the lead Mercedes so far through the weekend. Qualified in the top 3. He's done his thing. He's waved goodbye to the top 2 who've gone and had their incident, and he's ready to pick up the pieces.
Those in orange lining this racetrack were cheering for the battle that they saw. They thought they'd be cheering Max Verstappen all the way to the flag. Then the pit stop was slow. Then there was a chance for Lando. Surely it would be one of them. But it won't be Lando, it won't be Max, it will be George, the man who led the first lap in Canada, the first lap in Spain, will lead the last lap in Austria, and for just the 2nd time in Formula 1, the British driver will see the flag first, and George Russell wins an amazing Austrian Grand Prix. He beats Oscar Piastri home by 1.9 seconds. Carlos Sainz is back on the podium for the first time since Monaco. Mercedes win a Grand Prix for the first time since 2022, and they are battling all the way to the end here. Russell, with his 2nd career victory, has taken the flag. Piastri in 2nd, Sainz in 3rd, Hamilton 4th. Verstappen, with that penalty, will come home in 5th. It will stay 5th because he won't be penalised for this. And Hülkenberg, with the left elbow out, with the right elbow out, trying to fight his way to his best finish of the season. The best was 9th before. But now it's going to be 6th over the line, despite Sergio Perez's efforts. What just happened? What an amazing Grand Prix. Alonso gets the fastest lap on the last lap. The points are going to be completed by Magnussen. Ricciardo still fighting in Formula 1, and Pierre Gasly. You are looking at another different winner in Formula 1 2024, and his name is George Russell. To see the flag. Oh. What a story, what a story. To see the flag first when it looked for all the world like it might be Max or it might be Lando, and it's George who comes out on top of a race we won't forget.
Boom! Well done, mate. Boss got it.
Well done.
There.
They had to pick up the pieces. Well done.
Not over till it's over.
It's not over until it's over. Okay, great job.
Yeah, George, my bad. Speaking to you on braking, I just got it. It got me.
You got very excited there, Toto. Very excited.
And I'm even more now. Congratulations, we've got that win. That was so important.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well done, everybody. We wouldn't have thought this in Bahrain. Well done.
Well done to Mercedes, and well done to George Russell, who was there to pick up the pieces. He couldn't have said it better. He's beaten everyone apart from the standout favourites in this race, Norris and Verstappen. He's beaten Piastri. Piastri, that track limits yesterday will be really hurting now for him, who's just missed out on a first win. Perez, nowhere today, 7th, beaten by Hülkenberg. And it shows, when Red Bull don't have a second driver in the fight, anything happens to Max, they lose the race. And Russell is the beneficiary today.
Well, that was spellbinding stuff. For 2/3 of the race, it just looked like we were never going to have much to talk about until the flag, and then we had the last stops. Verstappen went wheel to wheel with Norris, but they made contact as they threatened to do so many times. And George Russell on pole in Canada, on the top step in Austria. After his best ever starting position on the grid, he has taken just his second Grand Prix win. It is his first career podium finish at this circuit, his second career win, and that was another classic. Look at what happens when we have 4 teams in the fight.
It's fun, isn't it? I wonder if the Max and Lando bromance is going to be waning after that.
We talked about this a couple of days ago in one of the many shows we've done this weekend, and we talked about how many times can they battle before it's affected. This is the pinnacle of motor racing. When you're so close together on track, week in, week out, it's surely an inevitability.
But it was all on Verstappen's side. All the aggression was coming from, I would say, Norris was firing in lunges, but they were within the rules. Every bit of grey area was coming from Verstappen, moving in the braking zone, keeping the place by going off the track. As soon as Lando took the place by going off the track, he gave it back. I think he will not be impressed with Verstappen's antics in that. Max got penalised for the incident. He clearly caused that collision. And we are going to see those two duke it out many more times this season. I don't know if it'll be the same. They've been respectful until now, but this was the Verstappen of old. Ruthless Max.
Collecting his thoughts as he goes through the administration there of being weighed. Will be added to the weight of the car off the podium for just the second time this season. Toto Wolff has that winning feeling again. George Russell managing to take victory in 2022 in the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, and they've had to wait a while, and it was worth it. 33 races ago, the crowd pouring onto the circuit. There was such an unbelievable atmosphere from the crowd because so many of them supporting Verstappen, then cheering for the battle. But they gave George Russell a terrific roar home. DC will be so surprised to speak to our winner, George Russell.
Carlos Sainz, welcome. Another podium in your career. And what was a fairly quiet weekend in terms of overall performance, but it all came alive at the end there. Did you see the action ahead, or were you just very much focused on bringing your car home?
Yeah, quite an eventful race up front. No, for us it was all about trying to keep up with George. We knew the Mercedes today might have a bit of an advantage on race pace. We tried everything to keep up with him. Yeah, Oscar at the end was coming really quick. Yeah, in the end P3, which is I think a good result. I think we can be quite happy, quite proud of that, because yeah, this weekend hasn't been easy for us, and to come away with 15 points on a P3 is a good result.
We're in the middle of this triple header. We've come off the back of your home Grand Prix. We have Silverstone in a week's time. Can we expect a step forward in performance there? Because it didn't really look that without the incident between Lando and Max that you would have been here on the podium today.
Yeah, happy days, you know, for Formula One, that there's a bit of action up front, and we're getting to see some nice battles. Unfortunately for us, we are still coming off the back of a tough couple of races where we are not quite there to fight for the win yet, but we're trying to do everything as we can as a team to be back on form in Silverstone and in the upcoming races to make sure next time we are up there to capitalize. And if not, podiums like this are always good news, and we will keep pushing flat out to stay in the fight.
Okay, well, we look forward to seeing that big push. Well done on the podium.
Thank you.
As we move on to our second place finisher, who must be thinking what could have been. It all became undone even before you started the race with that qualifying penalty for track limits.
Yeah, there's a lot of what ifs and maybes. Yeah, obviously starting from yesterday, but yeah, I know that's only my fourth podium in F1, but yeah, so close to a win. It hurts a little bit, but really good points, obviously. I think the second half of the race we were coming on pretty strong, and yeah, happy with another podium. Just when it's that close, you can't help but hurt a little bit.
Well, you can carry that momentum, hopefully, onto your home Grand Prix in a week's time at Silverstone.
Yeah,
not your home Grand Prix,
but the McLaren
home
Grand Prix. Yeah, obviously it was a place of good memories from last year, and hopefully we can be up the front again. Obviously, I haven't seen what happened with Lando and Max, but clearly it was pretty even up the front, and yeah, I think we're well and truly in the mix. So yeah, Silverstone's a track I always enjoy. Team's home race, so excited for what's to come.
Okay, well, good points today. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And ladies and gentlemen, our Grand Prix winner, celebrating his second Grand Prix, George Russell.
Yeah, incredible. I think it was a tough fight out there at the beginning of the race, just to hold on to that P3, and I saw on the TV that Max and Lando was going pretty hard. I knew Lando would want to try and get that race win, but you know, the team have done an amazing job to get us in this fight. You got to be there at the end to pick it to pieces, and that's where we were.
Amazing. So you were watching the big screens, minding your own business in your own Grand Prix, while watching that battle out front, willing to happen what actually happened.
Yeah, it was, you know, they were going for it, and I couldn't believe actually how close we were to Lando and Max. You know, I think it was only about 12, 13 seconds behind. And yeah, I knew it was a possibility. You're always dreaming, but as I said, just so proud to be back on the top step. The team have worked so hard. We've made so many strides since the start of the season. So, yeah, the last 3 races have been incredible, so more to come.
Now, look, you've done everything to make sure you were in that position. The other two looked like they had the overall pace today, had they not had the contact. But all you can do is drive your car and put yourself in the position that you have to then capitalize. So you must be really proud with this, your second Grand Prix victory.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, it's no secret Red Bull with Max and McLaren with Lando are still a little bit out in front, but we're always putting ourselves in that third place position the last couple of races. And obviously, if anything happens up front, we're there to pick it up. But, you know, just really proud of everybody, and, you know, what an exciting time for us.
And George, we're 1 week away from the British Grand Prix. That would be nice to carry this momentum towards another podium there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're riding a bit of a wave at the moment. These last 3 races have been incredible. I think realistically we probably could have won the race in Canada, so this probably makes up for one too many mistakes my side there, and just really proud to be back on the top step.
Okay, well, you're going to be in the top step of the podium. Go and enjoy the champagne and celebration.
Thank you.
Two-time Grand Prix winner George Russell in conversation with man who improvised his questions, David Coulthard.
Max, heads up, you were given a 10-second penalty for that incident with Lando. Just in case you were quiz about that after the race.
Of course. Yeah, sure. That's just ridiculous. You can just send it left and right. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, he didn't behave correctly there, Max. So, yeah, we're desperately unlucky, especially here, but you did your very best.
Well, that conversation between GP, team principal, let's go to the cool-down room.
Try to stick his nose in, sort of pretty wide, and then Charles was going to sandwich in the middle. But I think I had a little bit of damage on the rear.
You picked up damage from there?
I think a little bit. I'm They said it was a bit. Do you know where they crashed?
No, I guess turn 4. Oh, we'll see now. Maybe it's here. So Lando must have been quicker than Max then.
Yeah, I think he caught him from a fair way back.
The wind was changing so much.
Yeah.
Turn 6 at the end was tricky, though.
Yeah, we had right.
Were they?
Yeah, I kept seeing them go over and Lando's with loads of track limits.
Oh,
it's cool fight though. Really cool fight.
Well, you did just win the race because of it.
That's very lucky.
Oh, no way.
Oh my god. We shouldn't have.
He's like a that
Yeah, one's not enough.
It was gonna happen at some point.
Yeah.
Especially
Even yesterday was...
After the sprint race, I had a feeling Lando was going to get fired up.
A cool-down room with some new characters. George Russell with a second win in Formula One. Oscar Piastri with a 4th podium in Formula One. Carlos Sainz back on the rostrum for the 23rd time. All of them reviewing the moment that upgraded their positions in the race. Ferrari underneath the podium for Sainz, and he will be first out. Here he comes. Carlos Sainz being given a hugely warm reception by all those in front of the podium who have poured onto the racetrack and their teams below. In second place, Oscar Piastri equals his personal best. And surely his day on the top step is not too far away. But George Russell finishes first, and we'll hear his national anthem. The emotion on full display for team and driver. What a story for George Russell, who lifts the winner's trophy for just the second time in his Formula One career. Sao Paulo in 2022 and Austria in 2024. He'll also get the gold medal as well. This is George Russell's 115th start today, 2 wins, a lot of them were at Williams. He served his apprenticeship and he has been absolutely outstanding since he's moved to Mercedes, who are celebrating victory. And the man presenting it, a scorer of epic films. This one worthy of his work. Oscar Piastri's 4th podium finish in Formula One. Yes, he'll be thinking about why he was lower on the grid, but surely with his driving talent, his time will come. And Carlos Sainz wasn't too far away. We had 4.5 seconds separating the top 3 across the line after the top 2 took themselves out. We've had 5 different drivers win a Grand Prix in 2024. 4 different constructors. Memories of dominance banished to the past. It's close. It's a battle in every session, in every moment. The man on one lap who was so dominant yesterday challenged all the way by a papaya McLaren to the brink of contact, and these 3 drivers said thank you very much. Mercedes winners again for the first time since 2022, and George Russell, he mentioned it in the interview, the disappointment of Canada no more. It is the adulation now that he takes in Austria. He looks into the grandstand, he looks into so many of the eyes of those dressed in orange who have seen another Grand Prix to remember round here. Something about this place into turn number 3 just provides endless action, endless drama. And the beneficiary, the winner, George Russell, the British driver, leaves his 2nd Formula One podium after he's been to the top step. And it was a Grand Prix that left us breathless. This is a wonderful event, no matter who stands on the top step. A great atmosphere and great pictures there on the main straight. I'm going to take a deep breath and tell you the result of the Austrian Grand Prix. George Russell has taken his 2nd career victory. He beat Oscar Piastri by 1.9 seconds. Piastri taking his 4th career podium and 2nd of 2024. And Carlos Sainz completing that podium. He finished just 4.5 seconds back. Lewis Hamilton was in 4th. Max Verstappen limped home to 5th place. Best of the season for Nico Hülkenberg. Sergio Perez was 7th. 2 Hasses in the points thanks to Magnussen in 8th. Daniel Ricciardo was 9th. Last of the point scorers, Pierre Gasly, who had an entertaining tussle with his teammate. Charles Leclerc had contact at the start of the race, finishes in 11th, and it's Esteban Ocon, Lance Stroll, Yuki Tsunoda, Alex Albon, Valtteri Bottas, Zhou Guanyu, Fernando Alonso with a weekend to forget. Lando Norris is classified there, 7 laps down. Sargent was 19th, Norris classified, but didn't see the flag on track. To the Drivers' Championship we go. Max Verstappen still continues to lead, 237 points. Lando Norris still in 2nd place. Charles Leclerc not scoring. And then Sainz and Perez complete the top 5. Oscar Piastri is in 6th. Now George Russell on 111 points. Hamilton on 85. And then it is Alonso ahead of Tsunoda, 9th and 10th. But the gap, 237 versus 156 for the top 2. To the 2nd page we go with Lance Stroll in 11th. Up 2 places goes Nico Hülkenberg. He's on 14 points now. Daniel Ricciardo did score to move to 11 today. Behrman drops down. He had the 1 appearance in Saudi Arabia. There is Gasly, Magnussen, Ocon, Albon, Zhou Guanyu, and Valtteri Bottas, along with Logan Sargent. Still the 3 drivers yet to score in 2024. To the Constructors' Championship, which sees Red Bull Racing on 355, Ferrari on 291, and then it is McLaren on 268. Mercedes are in 4th, the winners of the Grand Prix today, then it's Aston and RB. Haas climbed back ahead of Alpine, having lost that place last time out. Williams on 2, Sauber on 0. My word, thank you to the team on site and back at Biggin Hill. Thank you to Jolyon Palmer and David Coulthard. And most of all, thanks to you for your company, because Formula One races, well, there's something else. They stir the emotions. And George Russell was the driver at the end that took the checkered flag. We'll see you next time when Formula One returns.